So I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but occasionally there's something in my day-to-day routine that even though I intake it every single day, I realize if I take a step back how much I truly appreciate and love that thing. And for whatever reason, today that is menu music and title screens in video games. It may seem like a very odd and off-the-wall thing, but I was doing chores the other day, just random household chores, and I had my phone on shuffle and the Fallout 3 menu theme came on. And it was incredible the amount of power that moment had. It transported me back to the first time I played that game. A montage of memories that I made also played throughout my head. And I realized that these songs, these menu themes are the first thing you associate with the game audibly, right? As soon as you boot up the game, you may not be looking at your TV or whatever, you may be doing something on your phone, or you just kind of booted up the game and you walked around the house, but you can still audibly hear, most usually, that theme, that key note. And I was going through a playlist of some of my favorites just after I heard that Fallout thing and realized that was pretty cool. I went through and I played some of my favorites and they all had the same power. I remember how I was feeling the first time I booted up and heard that. I remember how exciting it was to come home from school and hear those things as I booted up my Xbox 360 and was playing Halo 3. I realized that as an adult, right, now whenever I do get the chance to play games, which is more rare now than it was then, but I realize how much I just love the thrill and the rush that it kind of fills me with, knowing that I'm about to delve back into this world that I love. I just feel like there's a lot of power in the menu theme because it's got a good amount of responsibility, you know what I mean? It's got to put you in that world. It's got to place you in the mindset and in the mood to experience whatever you're about to experience, which may take hundreds of hours of your life. Now, there are going to be people that just click right through and skip it, but today I wanted to highlight in this video some of the ones that come to mind when I think sort of captivating menu themes and title screens that kind of set the mood for whatever game you're about to experience. So I'm going to kind of run through some of them, and I'll talk about them more as we go through. What can I say about The Last of Us that's not already been said? The answer is not very much. It's a game that, when everybody was making their Game of the Decades list, it's near the top in a lot of them. A whole lot of them. And rightfully so. I love the game so much. I think there are some things you can argue about the game if you're not necessarily a fan of this thing here, this thing there, but I do think there are things about the game that are inarguable. I think that the setting is very, very beautiful and very sad. I feel like that's sort of inarguable. I feel like the performances by Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker are just masterful, and I don't really see how you can debate that, but that's fine. One of the things I want to throw in that camp, and maybe the biggest thing for me, is the fact that the music in the game is so incredibly haunting and so perfect for whatever you're going through in the game. It carries you along through that, and it makes you feel even more in these moments. And that starts from right out of the gate. One of the first things, or obviously the first thing you hear, is that title screen in The Last of Us. And when you're hit with that, like, you immediately are prepared to dive into this post-apocalyptic world, and you know it's going to be a very emotional ride right out of the gate. And the reason I think it's such a powerful theme is whenever you take a break from the game, or especially after you beat the game, the more you experience of the game itself, when you go back to the menu and hear it again, it carries so much more emotional weight. And sometimes I'll just go back on YouTube or go back wherever I can find it and just listen to it, because it sounds so beautiful, and it has so much meaning, especially after you complete the game. It's one of those that I don't think I'll ever get tired of, and I think it's very, very perfect in terms of setting the mood for either what you're about to experience or what you just experienced. Man, if you want to talk about something that makes you feel heroic and powerful, how can you go wrong with Spider-Man on the PS4? Now, full disclosure, I have been a lifelong Spider-Man fan. I highly anticipated this game for a long time. I think it delivered on everything that I wanted out of a Spider-Man game, and then some. I'm highly anticipating the sequel, and that's great. But with me taking in so much Spider-Man media over the years, right, one of the things that I've sort of drawn a big connection to is the theme and sort of the general sound of the music in Spider-Man. So whenever Spider-Man on the PS4 launches, and you hear that sort of signature Spider-Man build in the song, and as it sort of ramps up, and dun 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 dun, such a huge smile on my face. Takes me back to when I was 7 years old wearing a Spider-Man suit. It's one of those gaming moments of this generation and of the last decade, I guess. It's one of those that's gonna stick with me. And it's something that if I'm going back to, or if I'm hearing somebody playing the game and just starting it up and I hear that, another big smile lights up across my face, because not only does it tie in so much when I was a child and all I wanted to be was Spider-Man, but as I've grown up and related more to the character of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, just big smile. I feel like even if I wasn't so strongly connected to the character and I heard that for the first time, how could you not feel so incredibly heroic with this slow build? If you're just starting the game for the first time and you hear that song, see that title screen, transition into the smooth gameplay, oh, it's such a crisp feeling, something I'm not going to forget. This may seem like an out of the left field pick based on my last few, but I gotta give love to Life is Strange, man. That game had such an incredible emotional impact on me. And it's weird because I relate to some of the things in the game, but it's not a one-to-one anywhere in my life. I just think it's a really captivating story with some really, really good performances. It's one of my favorite games of the generation. It's actually one that my fiance, who is not a gamer, she plays every now and then, but it's very, very rare. And we replayed through that whole game together in about a day and a half. And she was just as invested as I was. So that going along with me experiencing the game by myself, when I hear that initial song, it takes me back in a collection of these cinematic, impact-filled moments. Like, how could they not play through your head? I think a lot of the songs in Life is Strange on the original soundtrack, a lot of them are very fitting, and absolutely, but whenever you start up Life is Strange and you hear that song, you know you're in for something different. Something that's not, it's not something you're going to hear and something you're going to experience everywhere else. As soon as you boot up Life is Strange, you know what you're getting yourself into. It's something with a lot of weight to it. It's something that is a different feel, but I feel like it's very worth it. Once again, fiance not into games, she said she loved it. She was obsessed with it, and I completely understand it because I was the same way. I just think it's very underrated.
Well, Cuphead and his pal Bugman, they like to roll the dice. By chance they came on Devil's Game, and gosh, paid the price. Paid the price. And now they're fighting for their lives on a mission. passion fraught with dread. And if they proceed by...
If you're going to go off what I said earlier, that in order to have a truly gripping main menu theme and introductory theme, it's got to transport the player, right? It's got to transport the player to whatever setting or period the game is either emulating or taking place in. Cuphead is a 1930s inspired, beautifully handcrafted, visually game, and it's a game that, in terms of making me feel like I'm truly living in a different time, it does it almost better than any other game I've ever played. Because not only are the visuals just breathtaking, but pair that with the visuals and the audio cues across the game, and you feel like you're watching something that was created 90 years ago. And that immediately starts with the intro theme, which is taking a very different route from all the other ones we've heard. It's the only one with lyrics on today's video, right? The other ones are these semi-lengthy instrumental building mood-setting songs, and this, it's shorter in length, but the guy sings you into the game almost and explains the plot loosely enough, but he gets his point across, and you're like, okay, a minute after setting into this title screen, I'm in. I've been transported back to the 1930s. I'm ready to just get absolutely thrashed. If you're me and you're not very good at the game. I've still not beat Cuphead, but I absolutely adore the game, and I appreciate and respect so much the work that was put into that game. And I intend to get back to it here very, very soon. So I mentioned it very briefly earlier, but how could I not end the video talking about Halo? Halo is my favorite game series of all time, and Halo 3 is the single game that I've played more than any other game in my entire life. There was a long stretch of what had to be over a year, right, where it was every single day coming home with the same dedicated group of friends and playing custom games, right, playing co-op campaign, playing Social Slayer and messing around, or trying to hit that 50 rank in the ranked playlists. It was a loop that I have forever seared into my mind, and I've created so many bonds and memories and friendships on that game that I've carried on here nearly 13 years later, and that's so insane to me. When I was 10 years old, and I was, my voice very high, right? I was not very good at the game, but I didn't care because that song was so cool, right? It felt so epic because every time I booted up the game, I heard that song. When I hear it now, I get transported, and mentally I can visualize the 2 TV setup we had in my room, me and my buddy Devin, which if you're watching this, Devin, hey, how you doing? We would spend the night back and forth at each other's houses nearly every single day, and we would stay up all night playing Halo 3, and it was such an incredible time in my life. Was like, there are certain plays and certain maps and certain games that I can recall like verbatim this many years later. That's something that's really magical. And when I think of themes that have ingrained themselves in my mind over the years, video game or otherwise, at the top of that list, or if not at the top, in the top 3, is the main menu theme from Halo 3. To me, that is my favorite menu theme of all time. Not only is it very mood setting, which is what we've talked about a lot today, but it's got personal power to me that these other ones simply do not have, and that's to no fault of their own. It's just the timing and everything surrounding my time with Halo 3 is something that can never be touched again. Or if it happened, it would be like lightning striking twice. It would be incredible, but I truly doubt that. That's not a diss toward anything else on this list, though. I truly love them all, or I wouldn't have put them on here. Granted, these are not ranked. These are just kind of the first things that came to mind. I'm sure after I turn this microphone off, there's going to be more that pop into my brain. and I'm going to want to come back and make another video. And maybe I will. But if you enjoyed this, thank you so much. I just kind of feel like recording, man. I've not posted many YouTube videos at all, but sometimes there's something that's randomly passionate to me that I just want to speak up. And if you enjoyed it, once again, thank you so much. If you have any sort of critique, anything I can do better, I'll respect that and receive that too, because I want to get better. I want to make more videos, but just let me know. Thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great day.